listening to the Contraritics Podcast, pushing back against the insanity of this world with arguments that may or may not work. And here's your hosts, Josh the Gun Nerd and Ian the Beer Nut.
Hey, it's June, and
I'm not gay no more. I am delivered.
Wow, congratulations. He's delivered.
I delivered. Yep.
I mean, just a classic sound.
It is so good.
Yep. But it's also June. Wow, and the hops that just arrested my nose.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately, can't pass through the camera or through audio. But this is the annual release 3-way IPA from Fort George.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a different collaboration. Always involves Fort George, but two other breweries. This one is Sunriver Brewing and Mirage. I should have looked up where Mirage is out of. I actually don't know. I know Sunriver because it's just outside of Bend, Oregon, and we've been to Sunriver many a time through the years. With Kim's family, I mean, before we were married as kids. Okay.
Yeah.
And now we've been there as adults with the family a couple times.
Yeah, Mirage is down on Homer Street in Seattle.
Okay. But I have never been disappointed with one of their 3-way collaborations.
That is a clear looking beer. I mean,
it's just
it looks like honey. That is impressive. There's wow.
Yep. I mean, you could tell me that's a Kolsch. You could tell me that's
totally. Yeah.
Maybe a lager or something. You know, just by.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really hop forward.
Oh man, I had that for breakfast.
Yeah, Josh has been avoiding the hops.
Yeah.
For his tum tum, but
the heavy hops.
Yeah. But this is you got to break away every once in a while.
Yeah.
And
This might be worth it.
crunchy. Yeah. I mean.
Oh yeah. It's got like a very light pineapple and crab apple. Like in a good way. Like there's a dryness to it.
Yeah, there's a dryness. Yeah. Man, it is everything that you want out of a West Coast hop forward IPA.
Yeah, and not overly piney. Like
No.
It's got some of that to it, but it's not.
It's got the lingering bitterness, which I think is really pleasant.
Yeah. But it doesn't punch you. If you're not an IPA person, but you like a strong Kolsch or something like that, then that probably would this would be a good one for you to try out.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board.
What's the ABVGS on it? It's 7%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They're usually around the 7 mark on these 3-way. They kind of have a theme. But they said that apparently they're going to do, so this is the West Coast version. They're going to do a hazy version and one other version. I'm not sure which. But Fort George, always been, was that I almost said Kalamata, but what was that weird beer that we had that was that you spit out? Was that?
Yeah.
I felt like that might have been Fort George.
Because when you said Fort George doesn't make a bad beer, I was like, there was one.
Yeah.
And that is the one. I still have that beer sitting in the fridge.
Yeah. So that wasn't a great one.
No.
But
it wasn't
for what they were going for.
Yeah.
Like,
they
okay.
hit the marks. Yeah.
It tastes like that, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. For somebody that likes drinking, oyster water and tomato juice or whatever that is.
Go for it.
That's the one. If you want it, I'll give it to you.
Yeah. Got a couple more.
Yep.
But didn't break the bank for that one.
No.
No.
Once the scab heals, you're not supposed to keep ripping it off.
Yeah, you got to revisit it.
Yeah.
No, but there's a lot of things happening.
There is.
I'm editing episodes. I've got behind here at the end of the school year.
What, you're busy or something?
Yeah, it's just been a little crazy. I mean, like with media stuff at the school and trying to get some of that off the ground, and but it's all good stuff. And yeah, the episode that I'm releasing today was, it was before the feast, and
Oh, wow, okay.
and we were talking about the oncoming graduation, and then
and here we are,
start of June
tonight.
Yep, it's graduating tonight.
Yeah,
Which I've just gotten to know a lot of these seniors this year, but it's been pleasant.
yeah, for sure.
It's really cool to see young men exiting that are like, yeah, they're ready. Like they're not everything they should be yet, but they're exactly where they need to be, and they're moving in the right direction.
Yep, for sure.
So it's another thing if you get to that stage and you're like, oof, like this is gonna be rough,
Yep.
But honestly, it's like, it's one of those things where you think you can predict the future. Some of the best prospects coming out of high school, when I was in high school, didn't turn out to do too much. You know, others, I guess you really get a flavor once they step outside of the classroom into the real world. Okay, was that all talk or was that real? Whether it's your faith, whether it's, hey, I'm going to go do this thing. I'm going to be a whatever, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And whether or not you do that actual thing, but are you actually going to go and do hard things?
Yeah.
And, that's where I think, Jonathan even talks about at the school, it being more about, formation than strictly education, in the sense that you're just filling heads.
Yeah.
Because you walk away affected from the thing, from the person, the book, the person who wrote the book, the person who led the discussion, and also counseled you at various other stages. So it's all walking away. What was the overall effect of that experience?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually not just in the scholastic way, but it's been a conversation in our household lately, because our children have been able to be around people that really are about, filling their heads with information, but their actual execution of using that information is, because it's my new favorite word again is retarded, and in the same way you retard an engine when you turn back the timing. It's just
right.
It's just not firing on the way that it should. And so all the information in the world stuffed into your head can make you a real jerk, or make you somebody that just doesn't care because you think that information is the goal. But for our church and our school, the information is the foundation, but the goal is actually production, being productive spiritually, being productive in your family and in your business, whatever that is. So when we see students that get all the right information and go out and do nothing with it, that's a disappointment. When we see students that we're like, man, do they get it? They get it, and they go out and they actually put it to good use. That's a huge encouragement, and it's good to see the work that's being done in the students this year.
You mean like faith that actually works?
Oh yeah, I think Scripture says something about that.
Yeah, like actually your faith should bear fruit, and it should actually do something for you. Like
I think so many Christians get confused on what that is. Like, oh, my heart feels better because I have this information, but not actually going out and getting to know your neighbors, or starting a business, or being the best stinking employee at your business. It's hard to put feet to pavement on that sometimes for some believers.
Yeah, like James 2:14. what good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother and sister or sister is poorly clothed and lacking daily food, and one of you says to him, "Go in peace, be warmed and filled," without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. And we don't want dead faith.
Yeah.
Like, if it's true faith, it's going to be faith that works, that actually does something. Because, like, God's word goes out and does not return void. What he intends to do actually happens. And when that faith is real, I think it will actually result in fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the sign, that's the fruit of the Spirit, is that it actually does something.
And that faith, or that knowledge is it. I think I'm having a hard time communicating it, but that faith or that knowledge can be broken down where it's not actually.
Do you have a retarded engine?
I do.
Okay.
But it's I'm trying, like, because it's the people that have that knowledge or that faith, will say they agree with everything that we would say in that context. But what they're not actually doing is actually putting it to work.
Yeah.
So like, we agree with you. And also,
but
we're gonna, I don't want to call particular people out because they're doing good things, or particular churches or whatever. But it's like, but you see it and they just don't get it, and maybe they don't get it because I'm not communicating it well. But
that you're the problem.
Yeah.
But I do think it is it is lack of self-awareness, not being able to see who you are in the story.
Yeah.
Because I think we constantly need to be able to check that and say, hey, this is who I think I am.
Yep.
Is this actually, and ask people that are close to you, hey, this is what I think I'm doing. Is this actually what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm trying to be winsome in this way.
Yeah.
Is it coming across that way?
Yeah.
And you need to have honest friends that'll just tell you.
Yeah.
Because, man, I will, or even interactions with our kids, I'll check with my wife. I'm like, I wasn't angry. Did I sound angry? Because I know I was trying to emphasize the point, but if it came across as angry, then I need to go make that right. Because, but just being able to see that, or not even, if you can't see it, ask for it. Ask for that feedback.
Yeah. Be the person that is always learning yourself more, and then always looking to other people to help you know yourself more.
Right.
I mean, it's always easy to, hey, look at these flaws you have. But to actually check on your own flaws. Been fortunate, I think, a couple times this week to have some of those assessments done. Fortunately this time I've asked for, instead of like, I should have shut up a long time ago, kind of a thing.
Right. Yeah, and those, I think even for our brand of Christianity, I think there can be moments where we think we're doing a lot, and we're actually, like, even for what we're our hopes and dreams are for Marysville, and wanting to love the city, and wanting to, make it a great place to live for our neighbors, even through the school, and then even our church being positioned right downtown, well, not downtown, but like close to downtown and close to the main thoroughfare. But kind of also, we're kind of hidden, like we're kind of tucked back in here in this neighborhood, and just being able to maybe finding more ways to be more visible and bring people in, rather than like, we're not trying to hide, but sometimes
effectively, physically, we're pretty well hidden where we're at, which, it has some bonuses to it. I like it as a security guy. It's really
totally
nice.
Yeah,
because it changes everything being on the thoroughfare.
I mean, Grove Church, like they're right on a corner, like when you're on a corner, like people want to cut through just because it's easier. I mean, Grace was kind of that way for people going up Getchell. They would cut through that parking lot.
Yeah.
My mom would chase them down, or at least tell them to get off their skateboard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so there are benefits being tucked back in here for security and for other
But
reasons.
I don't want to be that kind of secure.
Right, but I mean, there are a couple neighbors that wish we weren't tucked back in
They
here.
wish we were tucked into, like a little 6 foot deep section of ground.
Somewhere out in like Wyoming or something.
Yeah,
like
that would
just
be
anywhere but here.
Yep.
And their complaints are too many happy birthday singings, and there are errant balls that end up in their yard, but they're free to keep them if they'd like.
Or they can bean some kids with them out on the playground.
Right? Yeah.
There's that.
Oh man, I don't know why this just made me think of a completely different direction. But have you noticed that the cidery in Arlington is just
Element.
no longer
Shuttered. And
Did you watch
background.
any of the drama?
I just saw one of the videos.
Okay,
that was just.
I think it was the main video that everybody saw. That this supposedly, allegedly, it's the owner operator. That he would come through. Apparently, this wasn't the only time he came through drunk, but he had his big like Doberman or some sort of big large breed dog, and it like jumped up on one of the kids or something, and the kid then he started to get. He's like, "Hey, don't touch my dog." The dog was the first one to touch him, you know. And this interaction, this really belligerent interaction started, and I think the mom or someone started filming, and then he like threatened to go get
non-lethal
force because he like sells. Apparently, he sells these like
really the
pepper
I
spray guns
just
or something.
Got to shoot one recently.
What is it?
It's basically a paintball gun that has pepper balls.
Pepper balls.
So
Okay.
It works very similar, like frame down. It doesn't have a slide. That's why I say that. But you have a magazine. I think it holds 6 to 8 rounds in it. I think they're 68 caliber, which is paintball size, and it operates with a CO2 that goes in the front. And just in case people are interested in them, I'm kind of maybe agnostic would be, more antagonistic towards them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one of the downfalls I was expecting to find in it is that you'd have to either crank the CO2 in for the first shot, and so that's something that slows it down, or that you would have the CO2 ready, but then it would leak and you would never know. So it actually has a thing where it holds the CO2, if I understand it correctly, in suspension, basically, and when you pull the trigger, it breaks the CO2 canister, which I think is a good design. I'm like I said, I'm not interested in them. A few people have asked about having them for the security team, and they're less lethal. That means they're probably not going to kill you, but they can. Who is leaving their phone on?
I don't know. Probably the same person that always does.
But yeah, so he had one of those, and they can have like aluminum balls in them. They can have chalk balls in them. So they could really hurt you or kill you, depending on what your ammunition is. So he had those and was threatening to use that in that kind of environment just because his dog touched somebody.
Yeah,
really strange.
Really weird.
Yeah.
Not weird for a drunk guy.
Yeah, yeah. Also, stop coming in and being a disruptor for literally wrecks his own business.
Know yourself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
If you're not going to fix your drunk problem, at least keep it away from your business.
Yeah,
you would think, but stupid does. I don't know.
He had a decent cidery. I think they moved up from Woodinville. It was one of the ciders that I'd look for when we'd go.
I like their blood orange.
Yeah,
that they
that's
made.
really good.
Yeah.
I think you can get really good discounts on kegs there right now.
Right, that's what I've heard. Yeah.
But literally, this guy just destroyed his own business, not because he made a bad product or had what was generally a bad environment, but he created a bad environment a few times to where the entire community said, all right, we're done with you.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, that's what I was talking to the guys at Skookum, and they're like, yeah, just the cops stopped hanging out there because they would have functions, communities, because the Boys and Girls Club's just down the street, and so they mom stopped going there after the game or whatever, just all the people just said, nope, we're done.
It wasn't my favorite place to go. I actually like cider, but I just didn't like, it just seemed kind of like a vanilla kind of environment.
Right.
But
it is weird how, or it is I think there's a corollary here where an owner that cares about the people that they're serving just comes through and everything, which when you step into Five Rights, you feel it right away. Yeah. And you're like, I could hang out here. Yeah. You go in Elemental and you're like, I feel like I'm in a garage. Yeah. That someone's like, hey, I could buy this building and I could sell cider out of it. You're like, totally. And besides that, why should I come back?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Very Listerine environment.
Right. Yep. Clean floors and you serve cider on this, white table.
Yeah. But there wasn't a culture there, even though it was, like as opposed to Skookum, which I really like going to. It isn't a culture that's welcoming to families at all. Right. But it is a great hangout spot. It does have its own vibe. Five Rights has got its own vibe. It's really good for families. And
it just means you have to leave the kids in the car for long periods of time.
Yeah. And that means you can't go there in the summertime at the hottest days.
Right. Right. Yeah, but that definitely, because, on paper, okay, what is your job? Okay, your job is to sell beer or to sell whatever, say you're a pizza joint, sell pizza. Yeah. Well, okay, but why should they come back besides pizza? You know, maybe it's such amazing pizza, maybe it's laced with something else that, makes them have to have it. But apart from that, typically people are looking for more, like I can put my dollar anywhere in the community right now. Why should I give it to you? Yeah, exactly. And even, even right now with marketing stuff with the school, it's like, okay, what is our value? What are we giving? Because anybody can give an education. Yeah. So how do we communicate what we're offering besides education? Even talking about formation and, equipping, people to go out and to do things, and kids that have been shaped by the word, people that love the word, and people that love, to. Because how do you describe the classical element? I mean, there's lots of ways to go about it. But basically you have, the three different stages: grammar, rhetoric, and rhetoric or dialectic, and then what's the third stage?
It's terrible.
Rhetoric. You have and it always feels like a test, when you're trying to rattle this off, and then but
the 3 or 4 times a year you look back and go, okay, am I doing this right?
But I think one of the key elements is really giving them a sense of where we're at in Western history and the flow of culture, like putting yourself on the map in Western culture and seeing how do we get here. We did not just float out of the sky and land here. There were people that came before that formed the Constitution. What formed the people that formed the Constitution? And because I haven't taught all the omnibuses yet, but I just went through modern this year. But even just modern, going back to the Constitution and going back to some of those founding documents, and looking at Hitler and what made him tick, and what the world's gone through a lot of things in the last couple hundred years, let alone the last thousands. And so, like, how do we get here? How do we land in Marysville, Washington, in terms of U.S. and then world history? And I think bringing specifically Christian classical, bringing the light of the gospel to bear on all that, and seeing what does God say about what Plato or James Madison or whoever, what does God say about what he said, and then giving the student the perspective that, hey, we're actually a pretty small blip on the map, but also look at how all these men that did great things that actually came from not that much.
Well, and history might not notice us in the way that has noticed others, but our grandchildren or great-grandchildren might have a different life because of the way that we live, and might get noticed that way, or even more important than that, like what kind of a foundation are we setting for our great-grandchildren so that they can actually have an environment for their growth and their ability to work on the culture around here, on the city, in a way that we would not be able to do just because of where we're at in history.
And we want them to go further than us. Like not just we don't want to set a ceiling that then they're bound to, but we want them to actually stand on our shoulders and go further. And I just reached my internal temperature limit, so I removed my Contraritic sweatshirt.
How dare you?
Yeah. But that three-way was pretty good. Do you want to crack the next one?
This is the Sesame Heat. This is a Sesame Chili Cream Stout, as one wants often.
Exactly.
I'm super curious and excited about this one, and it could really be bad.
The design is pretty cool. It looks like Sesame Street, but it says Sesame Heat. Sesame.
Oh, wow.
Sesame Chili Cream Stout. I don't
feel
even
like
know
I've
what
said
to expect.
Oh, wow, to several of these, but these have really been some. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I've never walked into a joint and said, do you have any Sesame Chili Cream Stouts on tap?
Yeah, what do you have in that range? Anything barreled?
Yeah.
I mean, that actually does smell like some Asian food in a good way. Something that I've cooked up recently that reminds me of. Oh, wow. That is all of that. Wow. Okay.
That's
crazy, isn't it?
It comes in at the end.
Because it said something about chocolate on it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So Lucky, and oh my goodness, my throat's burning. And it's really good.
It's weird.
Yeah. This is crazy. Lucky Envelope Brewing was founded in Seattle by longtime friends Ray and Barry. The name comes from the Chinese tradition of lucky red envelopes that are gifted on special occasions to yield prosperity and ward off evil. This will ward off evil, or it might be evil. I'm not sure. Our passion for both craft beer and shared Chinese American heritage inspired a unique approach to brewing. We respect the beer. Okay, where does it talk about it? So this has got Halcyon Lad and Lass, and Lucky Envelope met over several dirty martinis to scheme up this festive Lunar New Year cream stout, brewed with real black sesame and Korean gochugaru chili powder for a nutty and lightly spicy addition to a chocolatey smooth cream stout. It has all this. It really does. Count with us 3 cool breweries, 2 special ingredients, 1 tasty beer. It actually, like, it's a little toasty in here, but that actually put a little bit of sweat on me. So the chocolate one is like where I was kind of confused, and then even taking a sip of it, it does come in late to the party, but at just the right time.
I wasn't even trying to do this, but I guess we did 2 different 3-way, like.
Oh, we did.
Both are 3-part collaborations. They're both very different from each other.
Totally different. man, I'm trying to like. This is one where I would not have often, but there would be certain foods where this would really.
Like, because it couldn't be with a spicy food that's
No,
already spicy. It
no.
would need to be with something
Unless you
cooler.
just hate yourself.
Yeah. And yeah, hopefully this doesn't have any revenge.
But this could be really good with like yeah. this could be good with having like a not so spicy like I'm thinking like a summer broccoli salad, like like
I'm not down with broccoli salads.
I love broccoli salads with the red onions and the bacon and all that. That's so good.
Red onions and bacon. Okay, I can do red onions and bacon, but cranberries. Yeah.
I don't like raisins at all, but cranberries, they have a spot that they can fulfill in life. Whereas raisins, I think at the bottom of the trash barrel is a good spot for them. But that would be really good because the broccoli salad would actually knock down some of the heat, but then when you sip it afterwards, it would go really well with that.
Guys, it's the weirdest sensations. We're kind of going on kind of a little long on this beer, but it's like we're kind of taken aback, so we're trying to figure this out. Like I was thinking, okay, let me take a sip. No spice yet. No spice yet. No spice yet. And spice. Like it's like 4 seconds.
Really? So that's strange. The spice
for me
actually hits me on the roof of my mouth.
Oh, like right away?
Yeah. And then comes down to my tongue. And the first time I got a good...
Let's travel the spice highway through Josh's mouth.
But then I was getting chocolate. But then after like 2 sips, the chocolate is gone. Do you get the chocolate still?
Yeah, still like still on the front end, but
Okay, I was all the way on the back end of it. That's funny. But yeah, that has got some heat to it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's one for the unique category.
Yeah. I would totally recommend that.
So, Josh, did you know that June is Pride Month?
Yeah, I've heard that, but I hear less about it this month.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I hear they're not gay no more. So maybe these strong, principles they have are not as strong, or maybe they need to shut up and be less proud of their.
Just sell their product.
Yeah, that might be what people are actually looking for.
Yeah, I recently saw on the Lake Stevens school district page that it had 2 slides, and I was like, oh, 2, that's weird. The first one says, of course, Lake Stevens School District celebrates Pride Month in June, and then the next one says, Lake Stevens School District celebrates Caribbean American Heritage Month. And I'm just like, what?
Which, oddly enough, the percentage of Caribbean Americans is higher than...
Yes. Yeah, it's just like it comes across as fearful. Like, we better make sure if somebody says there's some sort of month, we better mention it, because unless it's like a Christian holiday.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to talk about that.
But if it's any kind of minority group or any kind of thing that they think they might get torched on. Well, I just yawned right now.
Yeah. Well, we've been working like crazy lately.
Yeah, it has been just kind of a hectic season, and also my wife is ramping up for summer farm season. So.
Oh yeah, you guys got strawberries and everything going on right now.
Yep, and then opening weekend I think is next weekend for Babies and Berries. So the farm has baby animals and berries for people to pick,
and that's popular. It sounds like like crazy.
Yeah, they increased I think the ticket limit that they're doing for the babies part this year, because there's just been a high demand. But for sure, their main act is the fall.
Yeah.
That is the main show with all the hay rides and the corn mazes and all the stuff.
Yeah. Well, you need a year off almost just for that event.
Yeah.
Not that you need a year to build up for it, I guess, not a year off, but it's
it's like
it's a crazy event.
Yeah. The amount of food that they order just for each weekend is mind-boggling. But people, they come from Seattle, they come from wherever, and they're like, let's go. This is, it's like going to the fair type of thing.
So what you're saying is there's better things to think about this month than your own gay pride.
Right. But one of the things...
Pride is gay.
That is inescapable is that, especially here in Washington, that we... our culture is obsessed with flaunting their love for homosexuality and acceptance and whatever you want to call it. So you have to reckon with it. So you can ignore it as much as you can. You can't always ignore it. Yeah. Sometimes it's forced upon you. Like, okay, deal with this thing. I don't know, maybe some guy throwing himself at you saying "kiss me." Like, I guess that would be pushing it.
That'd be a little weird.
But
there's ways I would understand to deal with that easier than other ways.
Right. No, but how do you, how do you deal with it? Where, I was saying that during like 2020, I feel like we saw every different brand of how do we deal with this conflict.
Yeah.
At that time, the conflict.
At the cash register.
Right.
like go to a store and you'll deal with, being forced to wear a muzzle or, are you allowed in here because you didn't get the shot or not allowed in here because you didn't get the shot. Once you get in, then all of a sudden you've got something that resembles a human, but you're not sure which, male or female or cat. And so you have to work through all those things with your children and your own self. And
some people acted like, oh, awesome. I've wanted to be a bigger jerk for a long time, and now I have my opportunity.
Yeah.
On both sides, like people that were pro-vax and were like, I'm going to stuff it down your throat, and people that were anti and were just like, I love being justified in yelling at people and saying you're killing people or whatever.
Going into a store and being a complete jerk.
Right. To employees that are just...
That was actually one of the harder things about it is I only pushed back maybe at one or two stores, at Costco and I think farm store, whatever it is, Tractor Supply or whatever. Yeah. Just push back slightly. But more often than not, it was just going in and be like, hey kids, we're going to make sure we're happy. Like they can see our faces. We're going to be smiling. We're going to be, making sure we're not, being a nuisance to everybody around us.
Right.
And working at it from that angle, like.
But a lot of times, there were some places like Costco that, like, I think they had like paramilitary guys standing on, standby, and they were serious about it. But other places, it was more like, the service animal laws, where it's like, they say no dogs allowed unless they're service animals, but you're not allowed to ask if it's a service animal. So it's like. It's a rule, but yeah, sure, it's my service animal.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to.
I know it's a lion, but
you have to wear a mask to enter. No, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of times it was just that. Like all you had to do was say no, thank you. But a lot of people were like, well, I don't want to offend. It's like, well, I don't know that they should be offended by just you saying no thank you.
Yeah.
Now, what you do from there on out, in terms of are you going to amp it up and be belligerent and all that?
Yeah.
But
like if you're well, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just bring it back around to the whole gay pride thing that is just thrown in your face. Thankfully we don't have a Marysville gay pride celebration. The most recent one in Arlington, I think last week. Had a pretty poor showing.
Awesome.
Which is great. And it said it was going to be youth led, which is
gross.
And mind-boggling to me. You know, they're coming for the children. You know, is basically the deal.
Yep. Literally have said that.
Yeah. So, you know, thankfully we don't have that in our face in our town, but like it's very much, you know, like they're painting all the sidewalks and the crosswalks and stuff in Seattle. Big celebration, really gross celebrations of just like naked people running through.
It's literally pornography and pedophilia, because you have people bringing their kids that they've either bought or you know had naturally, but they're trying to indoctrinate their children with these images that are grotesque and like not anything that children or even adults should be seeing.
Yeah.
Like it's the kind of thing you don't do in public. Like it's the kind of thing that would get you arrested the next day, the next town over.
Oh yeah.
Like if you know, so yeah, I don't know when the solstice parade is down in Seattle.
I'm not sure,
but that's one that went to a big gay event, you know, and you know it was. I haven't even watched news in forever, but it was literally like blurring it out on the news. But you see children on the sidewalks with their parents, you know, watching some of the stuff.
Well, and you know, these groups that, you know, like Gays Against Groomers or whatever, like I do applaud, because like they do have some, to the degree that they see that grooming children and then molesting or doing whatever with children is bad.
Yeah.
Good job. Now, why can't you see that what you're advocating for, the homosexuality aspect, is actually just one step away from, like, you're already perverting the natural into the unnatural.
Yeah.
And so it's just
it's two perverse sins.
Right.
You know?
It's just another step to the left or whatever.
Yep.
You know, it's like, good job saying that is gross. And I mean, what's your standard? Says who?
Yeah.
You know, like, who says it's gross?
Yep.
Just your intuition? I mean, I do think majority society, that's why we have laws against stuff like that.
Yep.
But we're just being God unto ourselves. But who says, you know, by what standard?
Yep. Because
if we're going by God's standard, then that's a different one.
Yeah. We've got some other changes to make. But it is good to see that that this year, so it's good, but there's also some other aspects to look at it. But just looking up, Forbes says that brands like Amtrak, Anheuser-Busch, Benefit Cosmetics, Boeing, Booz Allen Hamilton, Citi, Comcast, Deloitte, Diageo, Garnier, Goldman Sachs, Lowe's, MasterCard, Meta, Nissan, Pepsi, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they added Coopers to it, I don't know when, Sky Vodka, Target, Visa, and Walmart are pulling back Pride sponsorship. So they're seeing that, you know, we're not as gay as they thought we were.
Oh.
And realizing that it's not beneficial for them to do that. Does that mean they've actually changed their principles? No. Well, I mean, they're what the principle is making money. Hey, we're good about that. But it's good to see that thing. But what needs to happen before all of that to actually be effective? Because when the tide comes in a little bit differently, they'll go back to doing what they've always done. But what we would see as an actual change would be repentance. Like, hey, we have done this evil. We need to stop doing this evil. And this is the reason why we're not going to do it anymore, regardless of how much money we make or don't make off of it.
Yeah.
So that's still the push. That's still what is required. Just as, you know, in my household, if I see that I've done evil, if I have led my family wrong, I don't just get to go back and just change it. I have to go back and repent to God and to my family and say, we are having a course correction. We are fixing this sin and we are not doing this anymore. And that is the problem that we have not understood as a nation, that we can make changes on the surface all we want, but if we're still just going to change once it becomes popular again.
Yeah, you have to have principles beyond just money.
Yeah.
Because money, I mean, what would keep you from betraying your country, from, selling out your country to do like whatever, like the whole, trying to manufacture here in America, apart from and separate from China to benefit your fellow man. Well, if you have zero principles, then it's like, whoever is cheapest that gets the margin the greatest.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see more principle announcements. Like, this is what you can expect from our company. Where we manufacture, why we do what we do. Yes, we're for profit because every company should be, but there's certain rules we won't break in order to make that profit.
Yeah. And I mean, this episode will probably drop next week. And so maybe some of the dust will have been settled, but mommy and daddy are fighting, They
are. They're all the clothes are on the lawn.
Oh my goodness. I turned away from social media for 2 seconds and then it's like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
Trump and Elon are at it,
They're at it.
And airing all the dirty laundry, like you said. I mean, just like, oh yeah, well you were on Epstein Island.
You're a poopy face.
Yeah, totally. You got billionaires fighting. Just like, what was Babylon Bee's one? It was like, judge agrees that Trump has us on the weekdays and Elon on the weekends or something like that.
Oh man!
Because it was just like, it was the biggest bro fest forever.
Trump torches Tesla dealership.
Or I say forever, for a few months, like he literally had Teslas going through the White House. Yeah, what does it say?
Yeah, it says judge determines Trump will get the nation on weekdays while Musk gets them every other weekend and holidays.
It's just like right, just hits it perfectly.
It does.
I mean, that's what everybody's feeling. It's like, whoa, what happened? Like, okay, so the brass tacks of things. Like, I do think that Lou, listener of the show, I saw your comment on the Coma 4 article or whatever.
I love Lou's comments.
They're always great.
See him a lot,
he said something like, Trump is trying to take the people that built this corrupt thing and reform them and kind of morph it, kind of change it, kind of reform it into something else. Musk is willing to burn it all to the ground and start over and cut.
And take the pain of it. Burn it down to the ground and then sleep in a tent until we can rebuild it.
Right. Like he does with
or
when he bought
boxable.
Twitter. Like he just sold off all the cappuccino machines and, said, you don't need all this crap, and pared down the staff to whatever he needed.
Yeah, 20%.
Yeah.
Like that.
And, Trump, like, what was another Babylon Bee recently was like, Republicans have resolved to keep doing the same thing forever and ever, or something like that, and it's like, the American people seem to have voted for cutting waste, cutting fraud, getting the swamp, cleaned out, but that doesn't seem to be happening. This big, beautiful bill is big, but I don't know how beautiful it is.
No, the only thing beautiful about it, and because they're destroying it every which way, it probably won't happen anyways, but is the suppressor thing. But Republicans announced plan to keep doing opposite of what everyone voted for them to do.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah, which is doing the same thing that they've been doing.
Yeah.
It's like
more of the same.
Why do we hate ourselves? Why do we keep electing people that keep doing the same thing? But also, like, some astounding ones, like, I mean, we talked about this before, but Bongino and that other guy.
Oh yeah.
That are just like, no, he totally killed himself, and you're like, okay, that was kind of a joke.
Yeah.
Like that is the joke.
Yeah.
But you being so earnest and sincere is making me
believe it
more doubtful in you and your ability your judgment ability.
Yep.
But anyway, that's exciting news. That'll be old news by the time this airs.
Yeah.
That's one of the things about releasing a week later, but that's how we do.
You know, it's just smarter because, you know, if we just put out some bad info, we can just kill it, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and we, I don't know. I forget things sometimes a week later. You know, like
yeah, totally. We'll talk about the exact same thing next week and not realize.
Yep. Sorry, guys.
But you know, we can just definitely say, hey, it's awesome that there's less pride in being gay, and also in your own life, don't be gay by being proud, and you know, repent of your sin. Don't just move on to the next thing. Be a man or woman of principle.
See yourself in the story.
Yeah.
Like where you're at. Ask your spouse, like, hey,
Yeah.
this
Am I
is
gay?
this is who I think I am in our family. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be this type of man, or vice versa, this woman. Is that the person I'm being? You know,
Yeah.
like, and, you know, you're like, well, I was not trying to say anything, but,
Yeah.
like, I think the kids see as kind of angry or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, like,
Totally.
but you actually have to be humble
Oddly
enough to
specific.
take it. Yeah. They are not, because your spouse is not going to actually say the truth if they think you're either going to blow up in their face or they're.
Because if you're being angry and they know that your response to them is going to be angry, they're actually going to be like crickets.
Right. Right. All right. Well, hopefully we gave you some fodder for thought. Maybe it's how poorly we articulated something. Maybe you were yelling at the micro or yelling at your phone while I was trying to think of rhetoric. You know, like, or that one time, you know, we when that. Couldn't think of that one brewery in Snohomish, and we were like dancing all around it. Like I basically pinpointed it by, you know, saying all the things that were around it.
Yeah.
Couldn't think of the word spada.
And I was going to say, and are we going to be able to bring it back up again right now?
Aaron said that she was yelling at the.
Come on, guys.
Come on. No, we're used to letting people down. But yeah, go out and
Sorry, Mom.
weld defiance and obedience into one inseparable whole, and obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Is it in the yeah?
At this point, it's just honoring them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Honoring. Well,
For
but
you
if
and
you're
I.
if you're a kid listening,
Yep. It's obedience.
anyway, let's try to slaughter this outro.
Let's do it.
Until next time.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Contraritics. Tune in next time for another dose of guns, beer, and contrarianism.
Yeah, I've never walked into a joint and said, "Do you have any sesame chili cream stouts on tap?"
Yeah. What do you have in that range? Anything barreled? You know?
Yeah.